When a suspected drunk driver lost control of her car getting onto I-25 in Albuquerque in late March and killed two of her friends, it seemed like a pretty easy case. She even admitted she'd been drinking, but because she was taken to the hospital, she never had a breath test at the scene. Her blood was tested at the hospital, but it took 6 weeks to get those results back from the state lab run by the Department of Health. Now, the results confirmed she was hammered. But in the meantime, she was free. Well, 6 weeks is a long time. But APD actually got lucky in this case because state lab results often take a lot longer. And as Dean Staley shows in tonight's special assignment, that is letting lots of suspected drunk drivers off the hook.
Last May, police say they found Andrew Duran passed out behind the wheel of his car in northwest Albuquerque, the engine running. When cops woke him, they say he took off and plowed over a bush next to the sidewalk. Duran admitted to popping pain pills and driving. He was arrested for DWI. His punishment? Nothing. He got off scot-free.
What happened is we did not have the results back from the state lab, and there wasn't enough time to refile.
And Duran is not the only one. Across the state, prosecutors are dropping cases against alleged intoxicated drivers because the lab is so backed up.
I've dismissed 2 cases so far. I've got 3 more cases that I'm quite probably going to need to dismiss.
Brandenburg says she's dismissed 10 cases in the last year, and the delays are forcing prosecutors to come up with creative ways to bring DWI offenders to trial.
What I'm looking at is having the police officers not book the person into jail.
A defendant must be brought to trial within 6 months of a first appearance before a judge.
What we'll do is we'll just dismiss the case right away because we know we're not going to get the results back within 6 months. And then when we get the results back, we'll refile it.
We compared all of the DWI test results issued by the state lab in February of last year to this February, and on average, alcohol tests are taking 11 days longer this year compared to last, and samples requiring drug testing are taking much longer. If you're waiting for drug results, you'll be sitting around almost 2 months longer this year compared to 2010.
Yeah, it's a significant rise.
Dr. David Mills is the lab's director.
We always strove to get 90% of the cases out in 90 days. And we were meeting that up until sometime last year.
That's when he says a perfect storm of problems hit the lab all at once. First, a U.S. Supreme Court ruling forced each lab technician who tests the samples to testify personally in court.
You can go up to the lab sometimes and the lights aren't on. They're all out in court.
And while the court ruling heard, Mills says the lengthy delays got worse when several technicians retired or left the lab. Then, to make matters even worse, the state imposed a hiring freeze. Newly elected Governor Susana Martinez knows about the problem, and the former Las Cruces district attorney wants to fix it.
We cannot afford the kind of dismissals that are taking place because the lab isn't testing timely.
She says hiring new lab techs is one of her top priorities.
As soon as we took office in January, we authorized the hiring of those individuals.
Martinez says she's also working on a plan to limit testing the state lab does for the Office of the Medical Investigator. That would allow techs to focus only on testing samples in DWI cases. On special assignment, Dean Staley, KRQE News 13.
And even with the improvements, Dr. Mills says he does not expect the backlog to start clearing for at least 6 months. That's because it will take a while to train any new hires.
Well, it's nice to see.